Good afternoon and welcome to Locked On NBA Daily. On today's show, the vibes not immaculate in Golden State right now. Have the Warriors had enough of Draymond Green? Meanwhile, the NBA is considering new rules to prevent tanking, but does the NBA even have a tanking problem? We'll talk about all of that and more on today's Locked On NBA Daily.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. However you're tuning in on YouTube or on your podcast app, thanks for making us your first listen every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. I'm Wes Goldberg. Today, we're talking about the latest spat between Draymond Green and Steve Kerr. The NBA considering some interesting ways to try to prevent tanking, and then we're going to look ahead to tonight's game between the Thunder and the Spurs. We're doing it with the help of Locked On's local experts. I have two of the best with me, as always, from the Locked On Nuggets podcast. He's a senior NBA writer for the Action Network. It's Matt Moore. Matt?
Happy holidays, guys. I'm so excited. I really do genuinely kind of love this time of year. Happy holidays to you. If you celebrate, if you don't, just hope the time is fun to be around, because it was 76 degrees yesterday in Denver, and nothing says Christmas like 76 degrees. But I've gotten all the food for Christmas. I'm making pork and apple stew on Christmas Eve for when we get back from the kids' Christmas play. It's going to be a great holiday. Going to watch some games. The NBA is going to be better than the NFL this year. Let's go.
76 degrees sounds cold. As somebody in Miami, we everybody is like wearing their sweaters. 76 degrees.
Soft.
From the Locked On Bulls podcast, he's a Bears and Bulls creator for Bleacher Report. It's Haize.
Hey, 70 degrees sounds cold to you. It's going to be almost 50 in Chicago for Christmas, and that's a super warm Christmas in Chicago.
Yeah, it's literally 78 degrees here, and you have people using that as an excuse to wear their beanies out. Miami, baby. Let's go. But we're not starting in Miami. We're going to start in Golden State, where a second straight Warriors win was overshadowed by Draymond Green removing himself from the game after an argument with Steve Kerr during a timeout in the third quarter of last night's win. Here's more on the strange situation from Locked On Warriors.
Not knowing exactly or at all really what happened tonight with Draymond and Steve Kerr, I'll say this: Draymond's turnovers have been a big problem this year and contributed to the Warriors not being where they want to be. Are they better without him? I don't know.
I agree, but there is some irony, right? That the last week, he gets ejected. As soon as he gets ejected, run. Tonight, as soon as he leaves the floor, run. I mean,
I can understand people starting to lean that way. And listen, I think we've always known that the end for Draymond was not going to be a pretty one.
So I don't want to do the whole is Draymond on the outs with the Warriors. We've seen enough of this in Draymond Green's 12 seasons or however many seasons he's played of this in Golden State, right? We know that Draymond and Steve Kerr can get into it like this, and then they make up on the other end of it. But Locked On Warriors does raise an interesting question there, that at this stage of Draymond's career, can the Warriors afford these blowups with him anymore? Matt, what do you think?
Okay, I know that I'm the guy that brings up the plus minus all the time. I know I do that. I understand that. It's just really important in this one specific case to really be able to point this out. The reason you keep Draymond is very simple. With Draymond on the floor, Steph is a plus 8.8. He is one of the best players on the planet. They kill in his minutes. He is Steph Curry. When Steph has been on the floor without Draymond Green this season, they are minus 7.1. Now, they're minus 6.4 without Steph on the floor. Draymond can't do anything without Steph. Can't do anything. Like, those minutes are terrible. Even with Jimmy Butler having a sneaky great season. The problem is that Steph needs him. He needs him because nobody understands how to get Steph the ball in this offense like Draymond. They need him for that. You get another coach, then sure, fine. But I think it's a little bit late in the game this season to go that route. So to me, it's like, I like the point they made, which is like, this was always going to end badly. Of course it's going to end badly. Like, look at Draymond's history. Otherwise it wouldn't end. But I do think that this is just like more of the same of, yeah, he's a pain. Yeah, he's obnoxious. Yeah, his turnover's a problem. Yeah, he's getting worse. You still need him. you need Draymond Green on that wall, Haize.
Yeah, I mean, I think unless they plan on making, like you said, some wholesale changes, but at this point, like Steph, Dre, Kerr, they're family. It's like when you see family members argue, you can't interject because then they'll turn on you. Like it happens. They'll be okay. They're going to go through their arguments. They'll be fine when it comes down to it. And when it comes time to win in playoffs, they're going to be all locked in. Draymond is a fiery player. We know that. He can't always control and maintain his emotions. Steve Kerr's done a really good job at keeping him focused when he needs to, but that's just part of the Draymond experience. And the Warriors don't have anybody right now that can replace that, and nobody else is going to take Draymond either. Let's just say they did want to take Draymond. Nobody else wants to deal with that headache at this stage of Draymond's career on that contract. Nobody wants to deal with that.
It's a great point, right? That's not just a great defensive player that you're bringing into your locker room. It's the whole Draymond Green experience that you're bringing into your locker room, and it's a little volatile, right? Like, as we know, and if anybody's more equipped to handle it than anybody else, it's the Warriors who have been handling it for a very long time now, Matt.
And Steph's always been kind of the soothing antidote to all that, and like his specific version of locker room leadership, I think really matters there because Draymond has such a deep, abiding love for Steph Curry, for everything that they've been through, for all the success that they've had, that at some level, like Draymond will always pull back from the edge. And I bet there's been 24 conversations where Steph's been like, look, I get it, man, but I need you to peel back. And Draymond's probably been like, all right, man, I got it. Like, because of that respect, he goes somewhere else and you don't have that. And all of a sudden it's like, it's going to go thermonuclear. It'll be all of the Draymond Greenness will be so much worse in any other environment because he doesn't have Steph to counterbalance him.
Nuclear is an interesting phrase there, right? It almost does just sort of feel like you're holding the nuclear codes over here and you just don't want to let those go because of what could potentially happen there. But Haize, when you are thinking about Draymond Green and what he's bringing to the table defensively all the time, and how this had been, the word out of Golden State for years was, look, it's worth it for what he brings defensively, what he brings on the court. At this stage of Draymond's career, from what you're seeing from him on the court, is he still a positive value where you can tolerate some of these things? Because Steve Kerr was very clearly upset with him in that game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's still overall a net positive. I think you need Draymond out there. Like I said, unless you're going out and trading for Dylan Brooks or somebody, you need an enforcer, you need a defender out there, you need somebody who's going to be able, like Matt pointed out, that can get Steph involved as well. I just don't think there's anybody else that fits that, and I don't know if Draymond's career would have been what it is if it was not for Steve Kerr's system. So no, at this point, the value's still there. Of course, it's been diminishing returns, but the value's still there to have Draymond on that roster.
Zooming out on the Warriors now, they have won 2 games in a row. They are 15-15 in the Western Conference. Some quality wins there, right? Those are pretty decent wins. They come back against the Magic last night. They beat Phoenix a couple of nights back. What do we think about this Warriors team right now that it's 8th in the Western Conference? Because my argument here would be keep the gang together as much as you can. You already lost Clay, obviously. But if you could just sneak into the playoffs and we get more Steph and Draymond Green and there's just moments of magic of those two guys in the playoffs, that to me is enough. Obviously, I'm not hosting Locked On Warriors. I'm not rooting for this team. But Haize, I do think that there's value in just getting to the playoffs. But where do we think this Warriors team is in the hierarchy in the Western Conference right now?
Ooh, man. They're definitely lower than what I thought they would be coming into the season for sure. I thought this was going to be a solid team in the West. Not to say that they're not solid, but like, they're maybe a 3rd-tier team in the Western Conference. Like, of course, you have the Oklahoma City Thunder and Denver Nuggets. I put those, like, Denver Nuggets, of course, a tier below, but I still got Minnesota, Houston, San Antonio now above the Warriors as well. I mean, they're good. They're a playing team. Maybe they can win one playoff series and the matchups are right, but I don't see this team being a championship contender at all.
Yeah, I think, Wes, your point about just kind of just for the memories. A friend of mine's mom, or a friend of mine's wife, rather, his wife is like obsessed with like making core memories. They do all this ridiculous stuff with their children constantly, trying to establish core memories for the girls will always remember it. Like, that's what this kind of feels like. And it's like, man, they're not gonna remember that. They're gonna remember like the normal stuff, like you're like hanging out at the dinner table and like you and like the two of you bickering in a playful way, like that kind of stuff. Like, don't do that. I get it. I do think that for us, as we're trying to analyze this team, it's just like, look, the Warriors have a really tough strength of schedule. They're 9th toughest right now in the league per dunks and threes. What that probably tells you is they're better than the 15-15 record, that they're probably going to climb out of this. They're probably going to be good. They're going to have that stretch where everyone's going to be like, look out, the Warriors are looming. Look out for Steph Curry. And then it just winds up that they're just like a pretty good team that loses in the second round of the playoffs. They're not going to pass any of the thresholds that you're going to need to win the championship. Can they get lucky and make a conference finals? Yeah, that things can break their way and they make a conference finals. Could things go even further and something disastrous happens, or just like OKC just completely defecates on itself and they make the finals? Yeah, like it's a long shot, but I could see that happening. Could they beat the team in the East? No. You're not going to get so lucky that you don't wind up facing enough teams that are better than you to knock you out. Golden State's not winning a title this year. They can disrupt somebody else's and make some memories along the way, and that's going to have to be enough for them.
To your point, Matt, that stretch that will inevitably happen, because you're totally right, this always happens with the Warriors, could be in January when only one of their games in the first 20 days of January are on the road. Otherwise, they're going to be playing at Chase Center for most of that stretch. And they are quietly getting healthy now. Meanwhile, the NBA is attempting to add more rules to prevent tanking, but are we sure tanking is even a problem in the NBA? We'll debate that next. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you could place your bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into that moment. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet the next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. FanDuel is the place to be on Christmas Day with 5 big NBA games and a bunch of NFL games on the slate. Have FanDuel pulled up on your phone so you could get into the action as it unfolds. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, so can you. Welcome back to Locked On NBA Daily, the best way to support the show. Like and subscribe on YouTube. We air Monday to Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, wherever you get your podcasts. According to Shams, the NBA is considering new ways to combat tanking. And some of the ideas being discussed are, and this is from his story on ESPN.com, one of the ideas limiting pick protections to either top 4 or 14 and higher, which would eliminate that what they call problematic mid-lottery protections. Another idea, no longer allowing a team to draft in the top 4 2 years in a row. And then another idea, locking lottery positions after March 1st. So, Haize, we could discuss these rules individually if we want, but zooming out for a second here, before we even get into that, does the NBA even have a tanking problem? And what do you think of any of these? And do you think any of these ideas would be a good way to combat that?
Yes, the NBA does have a tanking problem per se. Like there are clearly teams that are tanking, like Utah is tanking. They've been tanking for years. This may be the last year of their tank, but there's no way that you can, in my opinion, there's no way you can avoid it. It's just part of what it is. The only thing you can do is try to do as many that maintains the integrity of the game of basketball. I think you have a near perfect system to do that now. Maybe you want to just create better flattened odds, maybe 1 through 8, expand it from there. Doing it 1 through 4 has definitely helped. We've seen some changes in that, but I don't think there's anything you can do to completely eliminate tanking. Even if you want to do that, a team can't be in the top 4 in multiple years. Like, what if that team is legitimately bad? Like, what if they are just a bad team and they're not tanking? Like, it's so much gray area there. Tanking is a problem. There are going to be teams that tank. But I just don't see any way you can completely eliminate it at all.
I think we just got to kind of ask, like, what are the games we want to fix? Fix is a bad word, given that most of this stems from the problematics of the gambling investigation. But what are the games that we feel are so bad that we need to make changes to? I like the March 1st idea a lot. And a lot of it for me is I've railed on this show about how bad March basketball is in the NBA. Half the teams are tanking, half the teams are resting, half the teams are or a third of the teams are coasting towards the playoffs, a third of the teams are tanking, and the other ones are in the middle battling it out. I think we've seen teams, the part of it is that the play-in tournament has been really good for improving some of these late season games and making the stakes a little bit better. But a lot of these teams are still kind of like, do I really want to just make the playoffs and get killed by the Thunder? Like, do I really want that to is that what I'm working for? Is I just, oh man, if we really try hard, we can get eliminated in 4 games and get 2 playoff gates. Now, if you're Jerry Reinsdorf, that's absolutely your entire goal in life. But I think it's bad that fans are just like, you're not trying. Like, we just don't want bad basketball. This is everything that we talk about as fans, as analysts, when we talk about shortening the schedule, when we talk about doing all these changes, they're all built around, we just don't want bad games. And there are so many nights when you can just tell that one team has a directive to not try and win the game. Like the Raptors last season would be in competitive games and rest their starters in the fourth quarter. And if you're a Raptors fan, you're like, I wanted them to, like, we were in this. It's one thing if you're getting blown out, but like we could have won. That's bad for the fan experience. And that's all I really care about. Like, that's all I really care about is making the games better. So Wes, like, I hear you that this isn't really a problem. And there's always going to be a kind of element to this, like you see in the NFL too. But I also think that it is important enough with this investigation to use it as an excuse to try and, like, anything we can do to just make the games better, I'm in favor of.
So I do think that it's important to draw the line and the distinction between teams that are bad and teams that are bad on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And this year, I think there's one team that might be tanking. The Jazz. And that's it. Their pick is top 8 protected, and I think there are teams around the league.
I would heavily say the Wizards.
So the difference, I think, between a team like the Jazz and the Wizards, right? The Wizards seem to just be in the natural life cycle of team building. Like, that's not... They're like, hey, look, we traded Bradley Beal. We've been picking not in the top 5 for a lot of years now. We just kind of have all these young guys. There's a difference between being in the life cycle of building and then just being like, hey, we had Rudy Gobert, Donovan Mitchell. We're going to blow that up, and then we're going to actively not try to build out a good roster. We're going to trade good players before every trade deadline like the Utah Jazz have done.
I would just tell you, if you pay attention to Wizards games, there's a lot of decisions in terms of their strategy, their tactics, and their rotations that make you go like, oh. And I think we see that probably more throughout the league than we're kind of consciously aware of. Like the Hornets, I don't think are tanking, right? Like they win when LaMelo and Brandon Miller are available. Like they win, and they don't purposely hold those guys out. But I think that all of these teams are kind of in a spot where I will say the lottery protections have a lot to do with this. Like the Jazz pick is only lottery protected. Mm-hmm. The Wizards pick is only lottery protected. Those are the 2 teams that we've talked about. I think it's genuinely less about, can we get the number 1? Because we saw last year, all those terrible teams didn't get it. They didn't get one of the top 3. I think it's really more about, like, we can't afford to lose our pick. But my problem there is just like, can we stop? Like, we made it to where you can't get punished for, like, you could justify not paying guys with the new CBA. And now we're doing this where it's just like, owners just want to be fail proof. They don't want any situation where you can fail. It's like, oh, we traded this pick and it's a disaster. Don't trade the pick then.
Yeah, so that's sort of where I wanted to go. Let's talk about these in particular rules individually, and let's kind of just debate them, I guess. So the number 1 rule that was listed in the story, limiting pick protections to either top 4 or 14 and higher, which would eliminate that mid-lottery protection. Haize, do we really need more protections on pick protections? Do we need more rules here? Like, do you think this would solve anything?
I don't think any of this solves anything. It may make some things a little bit more difficult, but does it solve it completely? No, it doesn't solve anything. And that's why I say, like, maybe flatten the lottery odds a little bit more. But other than that, I don't think none of these things actually change anything in the grand scheme of things.
Matt?
I don't want it because I think trades are such a valuable part of the NBA. I just think like that's always been like, that's something that any NBA, like there's been this push lately of just focus on the games. And I love the games and I'm glad the NBA is doing that more. But everyone that acts like we don't constantly talk about trades, if you're an NBA fan, you've been making up trades since you were 6. Like that's just part of it. And that needs to be easier. So I don't want any sort of more restrictions on tradable assets.
Yeah.
The other one was, I 100% agree. Like, we have enough complications now. And then if you're just the casual fan, be like, well, I want to make this trade in the trade machine. Well, you can't because that pick is projected number 7 instead of number 4. And now you can't do it. It's like, what? What does that even mean? No longer allowing a team to draft in the top 4 2 years in a row. This one to me is complicated because does this count picks that you traded for? I don't know. Like, would the Boston Celtics going back to back Tatum and Brown, would that just not even be allowed anymore? I don't know. Like this is again. I've heard this idea floated because it would prevent you from tanking for multiple years, I suppose. I don't know. I don't love it, but what do you guys think, Haize?
Like you said, to me, a team could be naturally bad and need to be there. A team like you brought up, what if they did trade for those picks? What are you going to do? Penalize them because the team that they traded with sucks? Like I don't like it. Yeah, I don't like that at all. I don't think it helps anything.
I love this one. You get 2 years to tank. That is enough. You should be able to tank effectively. The Oklahoma City Thunder had a playoff team with Chris Paul. They tanked for 2 years. They became this. Like, manage your tank effectively so that you can. And if you get to the point where it's that third year and you're like, man, we're just not very good, you better go out and trade some pieces. Like, think of the stuff that it would force. Think of the bad decisions that it would get us, guys. Like, think about what the Kings would do if they were like, if we don't make it out of the top 10 or top 14, we don't make it to the playoffs, we're going to be that. Think about the bad decisions. I like this one a lot.
The other one was locking lottery positions after March 1st. Matt, you said you already think this might be a good idea. Haize, what do you think?
No, because, okay, so let's say you lock lottery positions. You have a play-in tournament. So if a team then in the play-in, which like we saw the Miami Heat does, go on a crazy run to where they get to the conference finals, they still get a high lottery pick because of that. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh, I love it. That's great. That's even better.
Total chaos.
You get like you get this like, oh my gosh, they made the finals and this happened. They're not going to win the title because I've talked about you don't win the title. Those teams never actually win the thing. But the other thing is just like, if you lock them at March 1st, all of this basketball in March changes. It changes completely because now teams are like, okay, we locked the odds. We don't have to worry about it anymore, guys. Let's actually try and win. So let's rethink what we're doing. Let's rethink our positions. We're not going to shut down the young guys. We're going to actually play them because we're actually like we can use this time to practice and develop our good habits heading into next year. It ramps you up versus just like spiraling into the dust. So many of those games are horrendous. And it's going to dramatically change the playoffs too, because no longer is it just like, well, yeah, that team's tanking. So this team that's in above us is obviously going to win that game. Like they still lose those sometimes, but it'll even that a lot more and make every game mean a lot more for those teams that are battling with other squads for playoff positioning.
I don't love it. I don't love it because it's more complications. It's just like, wait, okay, so now it ends March 1st, and now these games don't matter for draft position, but they do. It's just another complicated version of what the NBA is already doing. And it kind of punishes teams that would like suffer injuries after March 1st. Like, what if you're in playoff position and then your star goes down on March 3rd and then you fall out of the playoffs because of it? Now you don't get a good pick. What does this mean for schedule imbalances for teams that have an easier or harder schedule before March 1st or after March 1st? There's going to be a lot of complaints about that too.
That's great. That's great content.
I just think that the NBA has an adding problem, and I want to get rid of rules. I'm in favor of getting rid of the lottery altogether. That's where I've been on that for a very long time. I think the lottery is the reason why tanking actually happens. I think the league thinks it's the opposite, and I think they're going about this the complete wrong way. But
watch the NFL on Christmas and see what that looks like, and we'll see how you.
The NFL doesn't have a lottery, and nobody complains about tanking in the NFL.
Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Nobody complains about it.
Yes, they do.
It's part of the team building process.
It's not the same. I gotta agree with you.
I agree. It's not the same.
It's not the same
because it's not many games. That's the March 1st thing is you have this whole like 2-month process of them doing this. Shave out a month and a half of that. It's not as bad.
The Wizards are still going to be bad basketball if the games count or not. Like, it's just, there's going to be bad teams. The NBA is like obsessed with like making no bad teams. It's like, there's going to be bad teams.
Yeah, I agree with that. But like there are degrees. I guess here's the difference though, Wes, is if you like paying it, you wouldn't know this as I get it. You're a Heat guy. You haven't seen bad basketball in 3 decades. Like, the other fan bases talk about this, and they're like, I don't care if we lose. I know we're bad, but us not trying it's a bummer to watch.
Yep.
Like, that's the difference. Is like, give the fans be able to be like, hey, you know what? We lost. Trey Johnson had 25 in the win. Or in the loss. I don't care. Like, we got good minutes for these guys. That's what you want versus like, we openly tried to lose.
I have a feeling we can talk about this for probably another hour, but we're going to move on. The first game of a home-and-home series between the Thunder and the Spurs is tonight. Not bad basketball, Matt. I think this one will be good basketball. The second game of that home-and-home series, by the way, is on Christmas. We're going to look ahead to the first matchup after this. Today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Nobody knows your money goals better than you do. Robinhood puts you in control of your money with tools that work as hard as you do. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money. Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto, all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself, expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. Thanks again for making Locked On NBA Daily your first listen every day. The Locked On Podcast Network has a show for every team. Check out Locked On Warriors for more on today's top stories. 14 games tonight, including Thunder versus Spurs, the top two seeds in the Western Conference, a burgeoning rivalry in the Western Conference. Before we get into the matchup, Haize, do you think this counts as a rivalry already?
Yeah, I guess in modern, like not in the traditional sense, in the modern sense, like is what really are rivalries now in the NBA. So I'll say yeah, it's already a rivalry.
He just gave you like a half wrap present, like the box is open, you can see inside of it. Like he gave you like a paper bag with Merry Christmas written on it. That's what he gave you for a present there on the take. I will say yes, because there's actual historical stuff here. So you've got that OKC San Antonio rivalry in the early 2010s. Like that was like the 2000, one of the best series I have ever covered was the 2017 series between OKC and San Antonio. Like that series, or it was 2016. OKC and San Antonio, Tim Duncan's last series. Like I get goosebumps just thinking about it again. That was such an incredible series. They got the history. Sam Presti is from the Spurs organization. And you do have Victor Wembanyama versus this trio of young stars. Like these are the teams that are going to define the next decade, really. And so to me, like, yes, there is a rivalry here, I think, between these two teams that are going to get there. These are two of the best. These are maybe the two best organizations in the NBA. So, yeah, I don't think it'll be bad blood, which you kind of need for a rivalry. But I do think that these two are going to be battling each other over the next decade.
So the last time these teams played, it was the NBA Cup semifinal. The Spurs beat the Thunder, knocked them out of the NBA Cup. Victor Wembanyama talked about ethical basketball at the end. So you have a little bit of that kind of stuff happening too here. But then, the last time these teams played again, Haize, Wembanyama was a plus 21 in his 21 minutes, completely changed the outlook of that game. How can the Thunder slow him down in this game?
I mean, they're going to have to try to force him out the paint. I mean, they do have the defenders to do so. What we've seen people do with Wemby before is try to put a wing on him. That's been less effective than what it was, like, for example, last season when we started to learn how to do that. I still think that's probably the best strategy that you can employ. They got more than enough wings that are strong enough to try to push him out. That's really the only thing I think they could do against Wemby in this game.
I wonder if it's more about putting a big wing on him, like put Jalen Williams on him and kind of assign him to be like, you need to be physical with him. Don't try. And I think they went too far with going to the short guy strategy. They tried the littles on him and he really punished that and then made it to where the other matchups were tougher. Like the Thunder kind of copied what they did with versus the Nuggets with putting Caruso on him. But the Spurs guards are so much faster that caused a lot of ancillary problems. So I think you maybe play him more straight up, have Hartenstein roaming. I do wonder if we'll see more zone tonight, because that's probably a good strategy against the type of guards that San Antonio employs.
The Thunder also shot 24% from three in that game, so making some threes would obviously help too. We'll see what happens. Big slate of games. Again, 14 games tonight. You're going to want to tune into Locked On NBA Game Night for a recap. If you like what you heard today, subscribe to Locked On NBA Daily wherever you get your podcasts, including on YouTube. Thank you to Matt and Haize for their expertise every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network your first listen. We'll see you right back here tomorrow on Locked On NBA Daily.